All right, Indiana takes on Illinois. 11:30 a.m. Eastern tip-off on Friday, March 11th, 2022. Illinois is -5, totals 136.5. I'm 4-0 my last 4 board member tier package bets on brockpage.com. And the link for today's board member tier package bet is in the description section below. $1,000 bettors are now up over $3,600 during that span. And I'll give you a little bit more info about all of that later in the video. Now, the Illini score a lot of points, and they've been really good away from home. They're taking on a Hoosier team who got the W in just 5 out of 13 away from their home court. And they allowed 74 points a game in those contests. Now, when it comes to covering the number, the Hoosiers are actually covering in just 38% of their contests away from Assembly Hall. Now, injury-wise, Lander is questionable for Indiana. Meanwhile, for Illinois, Grandison and Bosman Verdonk, questionable for them. Total-wise, Indiana 6-2 to the over in their last 8 ball games. Illinois saw 3 out of their last 5 get over the line themselves. Give me Illinois -5 over 136.5. Next matchup, Iowa Rutgers, 2 p.m. East. Iowa's -7, totals 144.5. Now, the Hawkeyes are one of the best scoring teams in the country. They're averaging over 83 points a game, and they've actually beaten Rutgers in 7 out of their last 10 meetings. Meanwhile, Rutgers on the other side, they lost 3 out of their last 5. That includes losses to the likes of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Purdue. Now, the Scarlet Knights also lost 9 out of their last 13 away from home. They covered the point spread in just 38% of those contests. Now, Rutgers' biggest problem this year has been their offensive production. These guys are averaging only 67 points a game this year. When it comes to the total in this one, Rutgers saw their last 4 straight fall under the line. 5 out of Iowa's last 7 fell under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Iowa -7, under 144.5. Next game, LSU, Arkansas, 2:30 p.m. East. Arkansas is -2, totals 139. Now, the Razorbacks have really struggled defensively in recent meetings with LSU. They're allowing 83 points a game in their last 10 meetings with the Tigers. They've actually had some difficulties grabbing defensive boards this year. Meanwhile, offensively, on the other end of the court, Arkansas has actually been little threat shooting from long range. The Razorbacks are making just 31% of their three-pointers this year. They're taking on an LSU team who's a perfect 4-0 straight up in their neutral site contests. And most importantly, the Tigers have one of the best, they are one of the best defensive teams in the country. LSU is currently in the top 5 in the nation in guarding the 3-ball. They're also limiting their competition to just 38% shooting from the field. Now, total-wise, LSU saw unders recently with the likes of Kentucky and Mississippi State. They were also 3-1 to the under in their last 4 neutral site contests. I'm going to lean toward LSU +2 in the under 139. Next matchup, it is going to be St. Louis versus St. Bonaventure, and that's going to be a 2:30 p.m. Eastern start time. St. Louis is -1.5, totals 138 and a hook. Now, the St. Louis Billikens won their last 3 straight, and they've got a winning record away from home this year. The Billikens are averaging nearly 78 points a game offensively this season, and they're actually in the top 30 in the nation in shooting the 3-ball. They're taking on a Bonnie's team who covered in just 4 out of 13 contests away from home this year. That's good for only 30% in that category. Now, the Bonnies have also had their issues rebounding offensively this season in certain spots. Now, total-wise, the Bonnies went 9-1 to the under in their last 10 games against St. Louis. They also saw their last 4 straight fall under the line this year. And as far as St. Louis is concerned, they went 70% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean towards St. Louis -1.5 and the under 138 and a hook. Next ball game, it is going to be UAB versus Middle Tennessee. That's going to be a 3 o'clock Eastern tip-off. UAB's minus 4.5, totals 143 and a hook. And the Blazers are literally red hot. They won their last 5 straight. They scored a whole bunch of points in the process. The Blazers are in the top 25 in the country in shooting the 3-ball. And they're also averaging 80 points a game. They're taking on a Middle Tennessee team who's got a losing record away from their own building. Now, the Blue Raiders also lost 6 out of their last 10 meetings with UAB. They averaged only 67 points a game in those contests. And even though Middle Tennessee saw a bunch of unders here recently, they were actually 10-7 to the over in their ball games away from home. Meanwhile, UAB, on the other side of things, they saw 64% of their contests away from campus get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward UAB minus 4.5 and the over 143 and a hook. Next contest, it is going to be Mississippi State versus Tennessee. That's going to be a 6 o'clock Eastern start time. Tennessee's minus 6.5, totals 130. Now, the Vols have taken 8 out of their last 10 meetings with Mississippi State. And they limited the Bulldogs to just 65 points a game during that stretch. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, the Vols are currently in the top 30 in the nation in fewest points allowed per contest. They're taking on a Mississippi State team who scores only 64 points a game away from home themselves, and they're making only 22% of their three-pointers in that very same category. Now, Mississippi State's gotten the W in only 4 out of 15 contests away from their own arena. When it comes to the total, 7 out of the Bulldogs' last 10 contests with Tennessee fell under the line. They're also 70% to the under in their last 10 outings this season. I'm going to lean toward Tennessee minus 6.5, under 130. Next game, Creighton, Providence, 6:30 p.m. East. Providence is minus 3, totals 131.5. Now, the Friars are winning 75% of their contests away from home, and they're limiting their competition to just 40% shooting from the field. They're taking on a Creighton team who really, they're not quite an offensive juggernaut. These guys are scoring just 65 points a game away from home this year. They're also shooting only 29% from three-land in that same category. Now, when it comes to head-to-head meetings between these two schools, the Blue Jays failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Providence. When it comes to the total, Creighton's 10-6 to the under when traveling. They also went 70% to the under in their last 10 meetings with the Friars. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Providence minus 3 and the under 131.5. Next ball game, it is going to be TCU versus Kansas. 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Kansas Jayhawks are minus 8, totals 139. Now, the Jayhawks are 5-1 at neutral sites this year, and they're currently in the top 25 in the nation in shooting from the field. Now, no real surprise here. Kansas is averaging nearly 80 points a game this season. They're taking on a TCU team who scores just 66 points a game away from home themselves. And they failed to score in the 70s in 8 out of their last 10 ball games. Not sure if they're going to have enough firepower to keep up with Kansas. Now, total-wise, TCU did see their last 4 straight fall under the line. Kansas is 5-3 to the under in their last 8. I'm going to lean toward Kansas minus 8 and the under 139. Next matchup, it is going to be Richmond versus VCU. And that's going to be an 8:30 Eastern start time. VCU's minus 2.5, totals 129. Now, the Rams have won 10 of 14 away from home this year, and they're arguably the best defensive team in the country. These guys are currently in the top 3 in the NCAA in defensive three-point percentage. They're also limiting their opponents to only 60 points a game and just 38% shooting from the field. Now, they're taking on a Richmond team who failed to cover in 4 out of their last 5 at a neutral site. They also lost 7 out of their last 10 meetings with VCU. Now, total-wise, Richmond averaged only 66 points a game in those 10 head-to-head meetings with the Rams. They also went 7-3 to the under in their last 10 ball games this season. I'm going to lean toward Virginia Commonwealth, minus 2.5, and the under 129. Next contest I have for you, it is going to be Vanderbilt versus Kentucky, 8:30 p.m. East. The Kentucky Wildcats are minus 11.5 with the total at 143. But as good as the Cats have been this year, they did fail to cover in 3 out of their last 4 outings, and they've actually had a tough time covering against Vandy. The Cats are just 4-6 against the spread in their last 10 meetings with the Commodores, and in addition to that, they're also covering in just 38% of their contests away from Lexington this year. Now they're taking on a Vanderbilt team who, believe it or not, they're 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 conference games away from home. So certainly doing a good job covering against the conference, especially away from their home court. Now the Commodores were also on a 3-game winning streak, and they went 11-1 against the spread in their last dozen contests. The hottest covering team in college basketball right now. Now, what Vandy does best is defending the 3-ball. These guys are limiting their competition to just 29% shooting from downtown. When it comes to the total, Vandy went 70% to the over in their last 10 outings. Meanwhile, Kentucky saw their last 2 neutral site contests get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Vanderbilt plus 11.5 and the over 143. Next matchup, it is going to be Colorado versus Arizona, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Arizona's minus 9.5, totals 148. Now, Arizona's 12-3 straight up in their contests away from their own arena. They're also in the top 3 in the nation in scoring on average per game. The Wildcats are averaging 85 points per contest, and they're making 50% of their field goals. Now they're taking on a Colorado team who failed to cover in 3 out of their last 4 neutral site games themselves. When it comes to head-to-head meetings between these two programs, Colorado went just 4-6 against the spread in their last 10 against Arizona. They also averaged only 68 points a game during that span. Now total-wise, Colorado went 7-2 to the over in their last 9 outings. Meanwhile, Arizona saw 7 out of their last 9 get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Arizona minus 9.5 and the over 148. Next ball game, Big Ten action, Penn State versus Purdue, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Purdue's minus 8.5 with the total at 135. Now Purdue's a perfect 4-0 straight up at neutral sites this year, and they failed to cover only once during that stretch. Of course, when it comes to offensive production, these guys certainly don't miss many shots. They're in the top 3 in the nation in shooting from the field. They're also making 40% of their 3-pointers. They're taking on a Penn State team who's going to have a tough time keeping up offensively. The Nittany Lions are averaging only 59 points a game away from Happy Valley this year, and they're shooting just 39% from the field in those contests. Now, total-wise, Penn State went 10-5 to the under in their travels this season. No real surprise there. They also went 7-2 to the under in their last 9 outings at any location. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Purdue minus 8.5 and the under 135. Next matchup, little Big 12 action. I'm talking about Oklahoma versus Texas Tech, 9:30 p.m. East. Texas Tech is minus 7.5, totals 126. And even though the Red Raiders have been super tough defensively, they did fail to cover in 3 out of their last 4 ball games. They averaged only 65 points a game during that stretch. They also failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Oklahoma. And in addition to that, when it comes to shooting the basketball, they've actually been little threat shooting from 3-land this year. Now they're taking on a Sooner team who already limits their competition to just 31% shooting from 3-land themselves. It's a team who does a great job guarding the 3-ball. The Sooners are also allowing only 64 points a game. So Texas Tech could potentially run into a buzzsaw here. I think Oklahoma has a lot of momentum. They're kind of hot right now, especially with that big win yesterday. Now, total-wise, 9 out of these teams' last 10 meetings fell under the line. The Sooners also saw unders more recently against the likes of West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and this very Texas Tech team. I'm going to lean toward Oklahoma plus 7.5, keeping this one close, and the under 126. Next game, ACC action, Virginia Tech versus North Carolina, 9:30 p.m. East. UNC's -2 with a total at 143.5. Now, the Tar Heels have been pretty dominant over the Hokies in recent meetings. They're 8-2 straight up in their last 10 against Va Tech. They averaged nearly 80 points a game in those contests. Now, scoring-wise, UNC's averaging 79 points a game this year. They're amongst the better teams in the nation in shooting the three ball. They're taking on a Virginia Tech team who scores only 66 points a game away from home. They actually struggle grabbing offensive rebounds. Now, when the Hokies play away from Blacksburg, they're covering in only 38% of those contests. When it comes to the scoring, Virginia Tech saw 3 out of their last 5 get over the line. Meanwhile, UNC went 70% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward North Carolina -2. And the over 143.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show here today. It is going to be Wyoming versus Boise State, 9:30 p.m. East. Boise State's -2.5, totals 128. Now, the Broncos have played some stifling defense all season long. These guys are in the top 15 in the country in defensive boards. And they're allowing only 60 points a game. Now, when it comes to covering the point spread, the Broncos are 11-5 against the spread away from Boise. They're taking on a Wyoming team who failed to cover in 2 out of their last 3 neutral site contests. The Cowboys have also had a tough time getting the job done against Boise in recent meetings. They lost 8 out of their last 10 games against the Broncos, and they averaged just 65 points a game during that stretch. Now, when it comes to shooting the three ball, Wyoming's making only 31% of their shots from beyond the arc when traveling. When it comes to the number in this one, 2 out of Wyoming's last 3 neutral site games did get over the posted total. Meanwhile, Boise State saw their last 4 straight get over the line themselves, 80% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward Boise State -2.5 and the over 128. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total, or at least most of the games for that matter. And what I do on my website is, well, I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel I'm actually betting on personally. And guys, if you want to get access to every single bet that I give out on that website, you're going to want to sign up for my board member tier package. Not only are you going to get access to the board member tier pick itself, you're going to get access to every package that I offer on that website all the way through the end of March. Guys, once again, I'm 4-0 in my last 4 board member tier package bets. Most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.